Rod, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Love that music. Well, hello, everybody. I've seen you guys around a little bit. We had a really, and by the way, Karen, I hope this doesn't happen this time because I got in a lot of trouble from people. I told you the folks on here are a bit feisty. And something with YouTube's, by the way, we stream to YouTube, to LinkedIn, to X. So if that ever happens again, I've never heard it happen, but I guess people weren't able to get on, or they'd get on and then get kicked off. It would come on and say it's at 11, and then there was something weird with the server. We only had about 10, 20 people on last time. Great questions, though. I appreciate you guys supporting the effort here and what we're doing and what we stand for and what we're working for. I've been telling you all week, this is either going to be a really freaking crazy or just flat out fun time with Karen here. She's sassy, badassy. Got some really cool vibes. She's really bringing a great message, and that's what we're about. We're about uplifting, building, and we just had one on leadership. We do AI, all those different things. So I'm not going to waste any more of your folks' time. I'm going to bring the expert in, Karen Rudolf. How you doing? Good to see you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And
yeah, we've been flirting around with actually doing this for a little while now, haven't we?
We sure have.
Hey, by the way, you see a little kind of a grayish thing here. I don't know if I'm going to keep that on, but when messages come up, they also start streaming up the thing here. So I may not keep that on, but in case you're wondering, that's what that's all about. So
as long as I'm not getting a disease or anything, I'll be happy. I think we froze. Well, Ronaldo, I actually see your text, but I lost the host. So, go figure. I'm doing awesome today, and I hope you are as well. Thank you. I am here from Sarasota, Florida, and it's beautiful and sunny here, so it's a perfect day. I can't wait to hear what's going on. How are you today? And do you listen in often? I guess that's a great question as well. I lost our host. So I don't know what's going on. Let's see if we can't get him back. Well, in the interim, yes, while we wait, I am a transformational empowerment coach. And I like to, oh, here we go. Here we go.
Oh, I hope this is what happened the first. So you stayed on.
I
Okay.
did, and I was having
I got dumped.
Oh, come on, we're just starting. Don't get dumped.
Yeah, look. By the way,
Today,
Ronaldo, she's awesome. She's awesome. So what did I miss? You were introducing yourself, right?
I just began introducing myself. Yeah. So
Yeah. So I just had something to do. I thought I'd take off a couple of minutes and go eat a sandwich or something. You got it. You got it handled, man. You're flying here.
yeah.
We can hear the guest. How are you today? So she was working with you on it. You know what? Last time this happened, same thing. It dropped out and people had trouble finding us. I told you about it earlier. And Ronaldo, during that show, I said, very artistic, beautiful young woman and very smart. And she's kind of helping out with the show now. So I've never met her, but look at her. She's, you know what? You're going to be a host, Ronaldo. Come on. You know that's coming. All right, go ahead. Sorry. Don't let me interrupt. Go ahead. It looks like a lot of people are still having trouble getting in. So we'll see how it goes. Enjoy. I'm backing out. You guys take off with it.
No, you can't leave us. But
I'm not leaving. Not leaving. No way. I gotta poke at you a little bit here and there. I give us what you got. What did I miss? Okay, some more people are getting on. All right, I'm feeling a little better. All right. I'm gonna quit talking now. For a minute, just for a minute. Just don't worry.
I won't worry, I promise.
They get upset at me if I talk too much. Watch, they'll leave. Just out of anger. They're feisty. All right. Well, this is a weird day. This is a weird start off. Karen, I apologize. Like I said, we've been flirting right before I got kicked out. I said, we've been flirting about doing this for a couple of days now. And then bam, you froze. I thought it was you, but I guess it's mine. I ended up kicking off the one of the streams because I think it was conflicting, causing me some issues. So I'm hoping we won't have any more problems. So, okay. Karen, how you been? You look familiar. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about, a few things. Let's talk about being a little badass and all those, that character building from within.
The sassy, classy, badassy way.
I know. I was trying to remember the whole thing. I couldn't say it, so I was cheating. Sassy, and that's the best part. That's awesome. How did you get from being born? Well, maybe not that far back, but how did you get into position to where that journey started opening up for you and you became that leadership, that consultant, that person that we need leaders. We just talked about this the last show. So I keep telling you I'm going to shut up. So I'm going to shut up just for a little bit.
I love the context because we all start somewhere. We all start with a story.
100%.
My story began many years ago when I was little and I used to go down. My parents would be arguing and I lived in Massachusetts. At the end of the street was a forest. And so I've always been a nature girl. As long as I love that. So I always flock to nature when things get rough for me. But this particular day I went down there and there was this cool bush that looked like an igloo. And that was my personal space, my personal igloo. And I would hide from the world there. And I would take my Barbie dolls and I would take the leaves and I would put the leaves over my Barbie dolls. So I knew from a very young age I was a healer.
Wow. Yeah. That's how this was when you were just a little kid still, right? You have a safe space in the forest. That's a place to come from. That's for sure. We learn all kind of lessons. Maybe not
Oh, yeah.
always the right way to present it to us, but we learn from, what are you
From
and me?
nature.
We're
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
that we've experienced from this moment on. And God, nature is the best. That's what we are.
Oh, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Everything grows from within. So, but I didn't know that, right? So I had to learn it the hard way because I wanted to have this knack and gift for bringing dying plants back to life. And when my dad asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I said, I want to be one of those people that bring dying plants back. And he looked at me and he laughed. And I said, okay, then I want to be the flying nun. He looked at me and he said, well, and I was like, and I loved horses. So he said, well, I said, I want to be a red horse. And he said, go back to being the flying nun because you'll never make a living with dying plants. And then, of course, he skipped a couple of beats and said, well, you should become a nurse like your mother wanted to be. And I was like, yes, sir.
Caring thing, right?
Yeah. So I've always been a nurturer.
Not exactly.
But it wasn't like my first choice, but I didn't know what my first choice was other than bringing dying plants back. So I went into a space of, I've always been curious. I've always asked a lot of questions. And my dad would go, shut up and go out and play, which the communication, the subliminal communication was kids were to be seen, not heard. And
Exactly.
as a result of that, fast forward, I really thought I wasn't worthy, but my questions weren't worth responding to. And fast forward in my nursing career, a doctor was discharging a patient and said, here, Karen, here's the script, go discharge the patient. And as I was looking at the script, I'm looking at it going, but this is masking the symptoms. It's not treating the problem. And he got really irate with me and he said, there are other people out there that can fill your shoes. And if you don't do what you're told, and I went back to that 5-year-old kids to be seen, not heard. And I thought, wow, there's got to be a better way. Bless you. There's got to be a better way. And I didn't know what that looked like. I felt sort of trapped in where I was at. And ended up getting married. And my former husband was like, my mother stayed home. You're going to stay home too, which was, in essence, it was a godsend. But at the same token, it didn't allow me the space to be all of that I wanted to be, because I thought I was going to go back and become a doctor and be that person that gives scripts and go, no, we're going to get to the root cause, So,
Absolutely.
thwarted by divorce, you know how that goes. So,
Yeah.
well, hopefully you don't have to know how that goes, but thwarted by divorce, I gave up, I had given up my career and my dreams of a career. And I remember very vividly my girlfriend saying to me, the first time my former husband took the children from me for a weekend, and I was lost. I was so lost. And she said to me, well, what's your dream? Like, what are you going to do next? And I looked at her blankly and I said, my dream? What's that? I had no relatedness to what a dream was. I had to go home and look it up in the dictionary, and I cried my eyes out because I thought I was really stupid now, right? Because when you tell yourself you're stupid, your body's going to start looking, your brain's going to start looking for ways and means to verify what you're telling yourself. So here I am looking it up in the dictionary. I'm so stupid. I don't know what a dream is. I don't have a dream, And it wasn't until my paralegal, he was amazing, said to me, if you go before the judge, Karen, I was victim, very much victim at the time. I was pointing my finger at everybody except myself, but I realized that 3 were coming back at me. So it was like I had to start looking to become responsible.
Good point.
And I had no idea what that was going to look like, because when he said to me, the judge is going to define your future if you don't, step up and be a part of it. And I was like, oh my God, over my dead body. And that mama bear came out and I said, nope, I don't, nope. So I ended up delving into communication courses and promising myself I would never be out of communication again. So that was the start of, but I knew that I wasn't going back to medicine.
Yeah. So that's a beautiful path to build off of, though, right? Because you're building that nurturing, and you came to Did you say paralegal? Did I miss somewhere in there?
I
Paralegal?
paralegal, yeah, because when I was going through divorce, it was costing me a fortune and time.
Okay. I was
Yeah.
like, did I miss a lawyer profession or something in there for a
Oh,
minute?
not mine. It was-
I didn't put it together. So, but all that brought you to this point, right? That person.
It was the
And
beginning of, yeah.
it's changer of life, isn't it?
Absolutely. We always have that pivotal moment that changes your life. But my pivotal moment was twofold for me because I've always been intuitive. And no, I'm not a naturopath doctor, but I'll get to what I more succinctly what I am. But
I bet you she could not wait till this episode started. She's very tuned into that stuff.
oh, I
Well,
love it.
to our message here, not that stuff. Sorry, I don't know what. Anyway, go on. Get me out of that.
So at any rate, twofold. So when I was going through my divorce, I have horses. I live here in Sarasota, Florida. I have horses. And horses are very intuitive, extremely intuitive.
Absolutely.
My journey brought me to a space of, excuse me, my horse got struck by lightning. And the vet was in front of me saying, Karen, you know,
What?
you're,
Wait, you got struck by lightning?
yeah, I live in
Oh
Florida,
my God.
the lightning capital of the world. And not only did I have one
Absolutely.
horse that got struck by lightning, I had two. And the first one passed away, and he was my heart and my spiritual mentor. I was on a spiritual journey. I was looking for things outside of myself. And I studied world religions. I didn't know where I was going. I was so too busy pointing fingers at everybody else. And it was like trying to find myself in the mix. And my spiritual mentor said to me, Karen, have you taken a moment and looked up the meaning, the spiritual meaning of lightning strike? And I looked at her very pointedly and said, I don't have to because I already know what it means. And what it means in a spiritual sense is being a light bearer, being the light in the world. And she said, think you're going to step into it? And I went, I don't know that I want to. And I was, in my head going, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And that was the beginning. That was the beginning of my journey towards healing and giving back and really being of service to others. And
I don't want to dwell on a bad point, but just for clarity, both of those horses got struck at the same storm?
No,
or different times?
Two different.
No kidding. And that your horse, your spiritual leader, died at that time, because that's horrific, man.
Yeah, he and I were very connected, but it really tapped into it allowed me to tap into my intuition, because I knew I had it before. And my former husband would say to me, oh, Karen, you're creeping me out, turn it off. And I thought, well, I never really talked about it. I didn't even know it was a thing. And now he's telling me there's something wrong with me in a sense. So I went years without tapping into it. And then it was right around the time my second horse got struck by lightning that I started really going within, searching for something and not knowing what that something was. And that's part of the sassy, right? So I was being very inquisitive, very like, I want to know, like, what the heck, and I don't want to believe there's something wrong with me, like, bring it on, So shortly there after shortly after my horse gets struck by lightning, my mom, who had been a hypochondriac, right? I'm a product of my environment. She had a very low self-esteem, very low self-worth. So I was victimizing myself like my whole life. And, obviously instances that occur to us, we make it mean, as I said, whatever we make it mean. And then we look for evidence to really substantiate it. So I always thought I was stupid, and I believed it. And yeah. Well, but again, in all fairness, right? If you look at everything as a learning lesson, and everything happens for a reason or season, because everything is energy, right? I can look at it in terms of, oh, poor me, or I could look at it as, what can I build with that to become who I am today? And that's how I chose to start shifting the energy.
So true, and such a great point. It's funny. You talk about humans, we're energy and we shift. And, you see that a lot in the big picture with societies, humans.
Absolutely.
What you described in your upbringing with your mom and your dad and those, that was, I mean, unfortunately, we grew up in that kind of, not everybody, but, it was a different parenting skill in that moment, in that time, unfortunately in our time. But now it's swung up. The parents, kids of those, in other words, my kids, that generation has swung the whole other way. Everything you do is perfect, and everything you do is right, and they lead the family more or less. And now it's kind of starting to get back to where this kind of comes in, where we've got some common sense that we've learned from those lessons. And it takes a long time, unfortunately, sometimes. But yeah, I just, when you were saying that, I thought about that. And that's a really interesting layer, to me.
Yeah. So fast forward, my mom was, again, during this, like the horse gets struck by lightning, survives, right? Survives.
Yeah.
Against all odds. So he became the miracle horse. And my mother, who I said had a very low self-worth, self-esteem, she decided to take up painting at 72 years of age. And she had no one to show her paintings to because I wasn't around. My brother wasn't around.
Yeah.
And so she would go to the doctor and say, I have a migraine headache. So they come on in, we'll treat it for you. And she would bring her paintings underneath her arm and they would, Rita, that's beautiful. And, and then 2 weeks later, she'd paint something else and call them up and say, well, the medication you gave me made me nauseous. Come on in. And, so it became a cycle.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Cool. And right. So one day I didn't hear from her and I said, I better call her, this is odd for my mother not calling and complaining, about something. And she was slurring her words. So I dropped everything because from a nursing perspective, I'm thinking stroke, God forbid, she lives alone. I dropped everything and I opened the door and there's my mother in a fetal position on the floor. And I look up and there's 19 medications by her bedside. And I went,
oh, no.
Here, not on my watch. So I declared in the moment I was going to become a catalyst for change. So I'm always looking for root causes. So the root causes, what I did was I looked at, here I am divorced with 3 kids now. What am I going to build with this? What am I going to do? I don't have my nursing license down here in Florida, right? So what else can I build with this? So I started looking at exactly what I do with my clients. I don't look at weaknesses. I look at strengths because strengths become your gifts. So what can I build with my strengths? And I wrote it on a piece of paper. Okay, 6 hours of carpooling each day. I could become a taxi driver. No, check that one off the list. Heck no, been there, done that. So I started looking at it and I'm like, okay, my horses.
Swipe left. Swipe left.
Swipe left, exactly. So my horse was struck by lightning. He's recovering. What can I build with that? Well, I have trauma clearing. I have taken courses in communication and neuroscience and quantum physics and NLP, and the list goes on. And I said, well, okay, what can I do with this where he can support himself? So I started doing live trauma clearing sessions alongside the horse. And this way he was supporting himself, right? And it was just getting really creative.
With him, that what you're doing there, what does that look like? What does that look like?
It's taking clients alongside the horse, not in the pen with them because they're still live animals. I know him
feeding
really
off
well.
that.
Yeah.
Sure.
But then what we would do is a closed eye 2 hours, an hour and a half to 2 hour session. And then they would open their eyes and go, wow, Truman, my horse, Truman is magical. He created and he had me say blah, 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 on and on and on. So it became a very magical space that I loved. And that was the big part of that. And then, of course, COVID hit and I had to let go of that one. And I started doing it on Zooms. And that became a thing. And then I started building courses. And as a creative, I do creative problem solving. It was like, what can I build with this? So it was this constant. I started I started a program where I was presenting internationally, and I started writing books. I have 9 collaborative international best-selling books all around
Wow.
holistic health and well-being. So it started putting me on the map. And I said back in 2007, I'm going to build something that's going to be affordable for every person in pretty much in the world, be affordable to be in every household. And I trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. And I was getting myself, attempting to get myself out of my own way. And, coming from my own
Yeah.
experiences, I can't be the only one in overwhelm. I can't be the only one that's not clear on making a decision. I can't be the only one that, and I just kept saying, what can I build with that? So I was giving classes at the time for sassy, which is sassy confidence, classy intuitive wisdom, tapping in, and badassy bold action steps. And I thought, what can I build with that? So I created
That's a perfect title, man. That's if it just each word, it's such an offset. It's so awesome. Go ahead. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like I'm constantly asking, what can I build with this? Rather than feeling
Yeah.
stuck in my overwhelm and my pity party, I just kept asking questions. Most people don't know how to ask questions. They're asking the wrong question. So I built the Tranquil Solutions is my company name, and with an SOUL, and any print you see of mine is going to have W in quotes, meaning holistic, right? In
Yeah, I
front of
saw that. Yeah.
yeah, it means whole. I'm educating the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. So I'm looking in a whole person, not just you're having relationship problems. Let's just focus there. No, because it's everything. Like your body is always talking, right? You don't listen, it's going to come up right upside your head and keep knocking until you listen, right? And hopefully not before it gets too late. So I'm like, what can I build with that? And then I created the Tranquil Solutions Clarity Tool, right? So it's addressing it creates clarity. It's like having Karen in your back pocket. It's affordable. It's able to go in every household.
Class
It's Tranquil
program.
Solutions Clarity Tool, which is a program, right? I'm offering it as a subscription, and you have Karen, and any answer you want has been put into the framework. The Sassy, Classy, Badassy framework is in there. Neuroscience, quantum physics, NLP, heart math, Jungian psychology, so all the archetypes are addressed in there. So if you have any challenges um, with relationship, with health and well-being, with finances or career, with purpose, with whatever it is, you're going to get a response from it as if Karen is talking to you. And then it will also give you a printout afterwards of some badassy aligned action steps to take, right? And it's your choice. So what I do is I teach people to fish. I don't teach them, you got to do this, you got to do that. I hired Oprah's coach once, and I thought, if it's good enough for Oprah, it's got to be good enough for me. I'm raising 3 kids, don't have a pot to piss in, and I'm like, I'm going to hire Oprah.
Come on.
Talk about badassy moves. I paid that
Yeah.
for a long time. But what I got from it was the experience that I don't want to be like that. She was from California. I'm from Florida.
Mhm.
And she's
Mhm.
telling me it was along the lines of coaching for, doing more coaching with the horses. And she was saying, well, this is what we're doing in California. And you have to do this and you have to do that. And I don't have to do crap. I don't want to be told what to do and how to do it. I'm here getting advice on what's going to support me with my lifestyle and my body and my world. So needless to say, I did not hire her back.
Yeah, that's a great story and a great input to information, feedback, and you had to go through again. You had to go through that to find out you didn't want to be that.
Exactly.
We got to catch up on a couple of questions here, if we can.
Sure.
We're right at about a good time to be able to snap some of these in. You did say that, because I don't know what a natural path is. Meaning, when is that referencing the holistic? Because there's different.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, okay,
It's a
go ahead.
practitioner. It's a naturopath practitioner. So I did not want to go that path. I wanted to deal with more of the emotional and the mental aspect of life, because the stories we tell ourselves are what's creating our reality. So in the beginning was the word, right? Word creates reality. Abracadabra, what you think about, you bring about. So that was, I call them my God bugs. I know I'm on the right path. Anyway,
Wait. Are you got a chill? What was that little
when I get that
reaction?
I know it's my intuitive space
Your frequency?
telling
Right?
me I'm on the right path to speak
Okay.
about that.
Wow. That's
So
cool. Hey, by the way, before you start, while you're finishing, while there's some time, I mean, we got a lot of time, but that information you gave, I always like to have the guests put it in the private chat so I don't know why you can't just put in the comments, but private chat, and then I'll copy and paste it over, because this is really, the elites have a lot more access. Like you mentioned Oprah Winfrey, there's a lot more access, funds, resources, and this kind of story is not the truth of how you talk about not relying on the natural. I'm sorry, what did
it's
she
a
call it?
natural path. It's not that you don't want to rely on it, right? These are all
That you're
tools.
building your body first,
Right?
your
It comes
inner
from
first.
your inner
Yeah.
from without, and then
Yeah.
you get to choose what's going to work best for you, because you're going to be aligned. Badassy alignment. You're going to be aligned with what your body is telling you and where to go. So I'm not saying, I mean, I had a major accident. After COVID, I went down to Costa Rica with people I didn't even know to go on some retreat just to get around people again. And I love horseback riding. It's not foreign to me. I went flying off a horse down there, ended up on my rear, ended up in the hospital having major surgery down there in a country I didn't speak the language. And I was down there for 3.5 weeks. So thank goodness I had all these tools, because it really supported me in really taking that step back, breathing, right? Breath is free. And it's your key to when you take a deep breath, you're oxygenating your brain and giving your brain a moment to pause and think, right? And most people don't do that. We're in a hurry to keep going, going, going. We live in a society and in a world where everything is like instant, right? So
it's going to get worse with AI. So we need that breath. Yeah, let's not go there unless you want to. But
I love AI. I do. I
do too. I use it all the time.
I use it also, but again, it's not my end all be all, because I have free will. I have the power of choice to choose if this is aligned with what I am looking to create, looking to
100%.
do, and so on. So it's a tool, right? It doesn't replace human beings, and there's nothing like the human mind, right? No. So, when it comes to,
they're not humans, it's just a really good organizing thing. It's going to take over, factories and all that. So we have to have a base as humans. They're not human. We are. And like you said, the mind is so, I mean, what's the old saying? I think there's a stat out that if you used your brain, or the energy that comes, the power, literal power that comes out of your brain, it would power a very small town for like a week. Just your brain. I mean, you said there's nothing like it, but it's also going to change the world, AI. So we got to have some base. That was my point.
So
it's going to change it really bad.
Yeah.
What's that?
What are we going to build with that? What are we going to build with that? Right?
I have a community too, so I'm building with that. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I'm getting, what is that? Classy? No, what are we?
Classy.
Sassy.
Yeah, sassy, classy. So sassy confidence. What? Let me see. How can we start tapping into our sassy, classy, badassy?
Exactly.
Today? So it's building a muscle. Like, we don't know what we don't know, but yet we beat ourselves up for not knowing. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not a, I'm not you. I don't know how to do you, right? So, but if I were to spend time with you and energy with you, frequency with you, I'm going to have a better idea of who you are, and but more importantly, do that with you. I've invested a bucket load of finances in my education because knowledge is power. But I can get all the knowledge I want. If I don't apply it, it means jack. It doesn't mean anything. So I teach people how to step into their self-confidence. It's like going to the gym and building that muscle. So listening to my clients, right? The classy, it's being still enough, the classy wisdom, right? It's being still enough to tap into your inner knowing. It's like your GPS system. If you listen to it, like you saw me get my that's my GPS and my internal system telling me yes, I'll go for it.
Okay.
Right?
That's
We
being honest
all
with yourself now.
yes.
You're tied into yourself, and your body's literally, because I'm sure we all get those messages, but I don't notice it. But that was it. I'm glad I asked you that question, because that's being, we're supposed to use less than 8% of our brain. You're using a whole nother 10% of your being, yourself, to have that, to attract those vibes and create those vibes that other people want to be in that space, right?
Right, absolutely. Well, I had to train myself. I didn't know. Remember, I told you I thought my
I know.
intuition
Yeah.
was like off, right?
Yep.
I'm a
You
witch,
were the other way. You were off the cliff the other way. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so you never know, right? But again, I had to really tune in and trust that. And once I started trusting it, I was able to take those badassy action steps, which scared the crap out of me. But if I didn't say
Sure.
yes, I would never know. And so much of fear, we're a fear-based society. So much of fear is self-inflicted because we don't know what we don't know, right? So I remember taking on the year. Yes, I do a lot of audiobooks, incredible amount of audiobooks while I'm driving. I was doing 6 hours of carpooling. So it's a great time and a space to be doing that. And I remember running out of books, and I reached out to my daughter and I said, do you have an audiobook? And she's like, here's my list, just pick one. And the one out of this whole list that jumped out for me was The Year of Yes. And I want to say it was by Shonona Rhimes. And she writes all these different shows. And I could so relate to her story, right? Relatability is everything, right? So I related to her story, and she was divorced. She had 3 kids, I think. And her sister came up to her one day and said, when are you going to start living your life? You're just existing. And I went, oh, that's me. I don't want to be existing. I want to be living my life. So I took on The Year of Yes. It opened up so many doors for me. It opened up so many opportunities for me to start taking badassy actions that I started listening to clients and listening to, like, on social media. When you reach out to me, it's me who answers, right? So I'm listening. I'm a listener. I went down to South Africa to present at a teaching conference. And the first year I went, I listened. And I was like, wow, they're going through a lot of challenges down there. What can I do? What can I build with this to make a difference there? And what I did was, the next year I went back and I had a plan of action for them to step into their aligned action steps. I had 56 people out of 200 people in my room. There were 36 presenters. They came up to me, hugging me afterwards and telling me what a difference I've made in the educational system down in South Africa. I had no idea I was going to do that. I didn't do it to do that. But again, when you listen to your inner guidance and you listen to others and you trust yourself, that's when life happens. And I started learning it's not about me. I'm a leader. How might I lead in such a way that's going to make a difference for others? I've got to get myself out of my own way. So Shakespeare says, I think it was 1533, he wrote the play Hamlet. And in Hamlet, he says, to thine own self be true, right? Be true to you. How do you be true to you when you don't know who you are, right? So it always, always, always begins with self. And I had to deal with
that kind of ties in with what Danny's asking here, right? I don't want to just miss that, because you're talking about that, yes, people can, but you gotta learn, like anything, like it's a muscle, you got to use it, right?
Absolutely.
So
And it's
yes,
a choice.
Danny, great question or comment.
Absolutely. Yeah, great question, because it is a choice, right? And in order to shift
Yeah.
your mind, right? Mindset, I mean, listen to the word mindset, right? Your mind is set. Mind shifting, now you're onto something. Right?
Yeah.
Words create reality. So when
Yeah.
you're stuck on something and people are, oh, we're going to do mindset work, and let's do this and let's do, well, you're already set, but what are you going to build with that? Who are you going to become? Every experience is a greater becoming. You're not the same person you were yesterday because you learned something yesterday. You did something
Yeah.
differently, right? So it's
Yep.
the becoming of who are you becoming, and we're always becoming, right? I'm going to be becoming until the day I'm laid to rest, right? And that's part
Yeah.
of the curiosity of being that bold self, right? To overcome fear, you have to look at it and face it. In martial arts, they'll always say
Yes.
when your person attacker is coming to you, rather than running, you face your fear because it's not what they're expecting, right? It sucks to face it. It's not easy to face it. But once I
Mm-mm.
started looking at my gremlins, so to speak, and going, they're just gremlins. They're not going to bite me, Like, what can I,
Yeah.
what, how, you know? And I started looking at it different. It's all about perception. And this is where the Tranquil Solutions Clarity Tool
Mm.
was built upon, because it's all about looking at where you're at now and shifting the perception of the story you used to tell yourself, like me being stupid. I know I'm not stupid. Might do stupid things now and then, but I get to laugh at them. It's a choice. And then
Yeah.
I get to choose differently.
Well, that's fantastic. That's exactly what Dirk's asking here, right? Because you are the great, well, many people, but you are the greatest example of going from fear of anything or
Mhm.
everything, I guess is a better way to put it, because of how your base was built. The base that you started life out in was built
Absolutely.
with those messages. So stepping into your boldest selves, it's the hardest at the first, and
Mhm.
then because the mind doesn't want to change, right? The mind
Mhm.
wants to be happy, and it's happy when it's doing the same thing over and over again, right?
Exactly. It's a,
But when you sorry, go ahead. I'm
I
taking
didn't,
off from that. Yeah, Dirk.
I get excited with the conversation.
I know, me too.
Because your ego is there to protect you, and it's been there keeping you safe. It
Never
doesn't
thought about it
mean
that way.
that you're not safe. It just means
Yeah.
that you don't know what you don't know. But if you check it
Hmm.
out, you might actually like it. If you don't like it, you have
Yeah.
the choice to go, I'm going back.
Yeah.
So I had an experience when my middle daughter was learning to drive, and we went into the college to deal with the
Fun
funding.
time.
I don't want you to talk, but I just want you there. I'm like, okay. She dealt with it. Then we get out to the
Yeah.
parking lot. She gets behind the
Yeah.
wheel. She's on her car, and she looks at the stop sign. She goes, "Which way do I go to go home?" I'm like, "Which way do you want to go? Because if you go either way, it's still going to get you home. You get to
Mhm.
choose." She got so pissed off at me, but she learned the lesson. Right? There's always a way.
There is.
And if you
That's a
don't
great lesson.
know, you ask the question, right? That's what Google's for,
Yeah.
or such, or AI, or whatever, whoever your choice is at the moment. But
Yep.
so it's always. Thank you, grateful, Dirk. Um, I love this stuff. Needless to say, I can go on and on and on about it. I mean, this is totally my jam, but it became my jam when I started creating for myself and learning who Karen was, what's working and what's not. And then I stepped into giving back. And when I chose to be of service, I remember somebody saying to me in 2007, like, who you're going to be in the world. And without thought, it was like, I'm going to be love. It's just like,
Oh, great
so I,
answer. So
right. So
true.
come from love. When you come from love, in order to be that for others, you have to be that for yourself. I couldn't even look at my mirror in the mirror, let alone being in love with myself back in the day.
Oh my
So
God.
if you
Yeah.
learn scale. But once I started stepping into that with sassy, classy, badassy confidence, right? All of a sudden, my whole world changed. I was asked, I created the Tranquil Solutions Clarity Tool just recently. The major launch is June 1st. But as a result of
Where's
that,
that? Is that like in a school, SKOL, or a?
no, not yet. I have the link and I'll be happy to give you the link as well.
Yeah, that's one of the things definitely want to put up there, because that's
Yeah.
a gem right there. That's a gem.
Yeah.
It's like a community, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I
awesome.
appreciate that, because you never know who's watching or who's listening. Even when you're
Exactly.
coming from heart and you're being of service to others, you never know what opportunities are there for you. I had somebody, as a result of this, come up to me recently and say, Karen, I want you in our movie. We're doing a movie with Michael Beckwith, Bruce Lipton. They're engaging
Hey, I want to
Les
be in
Brown,
that.
who has
I
been
want to
my
be in that.
mentor for years.
Hey,
So
can you hook me up?
yeah, so I'm filming it in June. I'll be filming it in June. So, I had no idea that was going to be part of my badassy actions. And here I am. I was
So
posted
cool.
on the NASDAQ billboard and in Times Square. Who would have thought, And it was like, you don't do things to get like, look at me, you do things because it's from heart. So law of attraction, like attracts like. When you step into becoming it, that's when you're going to get more of the same. Do I work with an herbalist? No, I do. Well, yes, and I obviously, when I had my hip surgery and I was told I couldn't walk, all right, my chances of walking, here's one for you. They always told my chances of walking were going to be slim to none. And thank goodness the surgeon down there, who was amazing in Costa Rica, right? He was the only one that spoke English. So I look forward to him coming once a day. And while I was down there and I heard that, I looked at him straight in the eye and I said, watch me, right? Your diagnosis doesn't have to be my prognosis. And I said, I am going to walk again. And all I could move was my pinky toe. I was like, and I'm looking at the window I'm looking at the window. In my mind, it's a mountain. And, there, of course, it's a volcano, which I didn't think about. But I'm like, okay, how am I going to traverse that to get to the other side of walking? And I just remember affirmations. Every day and every way, my body's healing on a cellular level. Every day and every way, my body's healing on a cellular level, and I will walk every day. And I just kept repeating it. I wrote it, I repeated it, I spoke it out loud, and word creates reality. So within 6 months, I was walking, I'm dancing, I'm not running any races yet, but, I'm living life.
Awesome.
And so don't let people tell you who you are, what you're about.
I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, and it's the root of what the message is here, what we're talking about, what your message is that we're talking about.
Yeah,
it's building from within, because you're going to get life, especially if you start going to new places in the ladder and having success. So you're not going to get support from your crowd. Your crowd may change, not everybody, but that may change. And that's not easy too. That is also not easy, but it has to happen. Otherwise they'll bring you down, or they come up with it. I don't know.
Exactly. I gave up a relationship of 32 years. My best friend.
Yeah.
She was going through whatever she was going through. I was there with her through her challenges. And it just got to a point where she became more like a vampire sucker than anything else. And I call it weeding my garden. So every so often I'll weed my garden and I'll go through it and I'll say, who's supporting me, who's lifting me, who's good, because I have a higher purpose, a higher mission. And I want people that I want to be the wind beneath your wings. I want people to be the wind beneath mine. So if that's not them, then it's not like I'm using people. I'm not. I shouldn't even say like. It's not using people. I'm not. It is more, I want to be aligned with those badassy people that make me feel good feeling. So when a quick tip for shifting your structure, your stuck to empowered, is really getting present to what you want. Most people know what they don't want because of past based experiences, but they don't realize what they want. Know what you want and know your why. Hope that helps.
Yeah. And it's not even something for you to feel quote unquote bad about,
So,
because
yeah.
you can't, you have to. I mean,
Yeah.
be real with yourself. So now, what are you going to do if as you're growing is not be real with yourself, because
Yeah.
that's a conflict that
Right.
doesn't work together. It's like magnets, opposite. They're not gonna. It's not gonna stick. So I
Exactly.
know and I only say that because I know people and personal experience that happens, and it's not
Absolutely.
purposeful, but it does happen, and it's
Exactly.
hard. It's difficult, especially with friends.
Exactly.
You
But
know,
if you say, again, word creates reality. If you say hard, it's going to be hard, right? The wall is hard.
well, true,
The
yeah,
floor is hard. My head can be hard. But again, if I say, wow, it could be challenging,
excellent point.
right?
Yep.
It could be challenging. How am I going to transverse that? Your brain is a computer. It's going to start looking for ways and means of getting you towards empowerment. It's going to be
Yeah.
aligning you with people and opportunities that you won't expect, but you've got to put out there what you're looking for, what you want, right? And
Yeah.
invest in you, whether or not it's a webinar or a book or whatever it is. That's an investment of time, energy, and frequency. The more you do it, the more you're going to grow, the more you're going to learn about you and become clearer of what you want. And again, that's where the Tranquil Solutions Clarity Tool comes in, because a lot of people don't even know what the questions are. So it's designed in such a way where
Big key.
there's
Yes. Nailed
questions,
it right there.
right? That is going to tap into your subconscious, into your heart space. That's going to empower you to answer your own questions, right?
Yeah.
And then if you still have
Yeah.
problems, you come and you hire me.
Yeah. I mean, either you become the professional for yourself, or but you can't have you got to have help. You got to have
Opposite.
that. And that goes back to your friends will change, because you got to figure out how to make that happen. And if you don't have that, at least then out of the gate, you gotta rebase yourself, right? You gotta
Right.
rebuild that platform thing there. Before we lose, well, we're down to a couple. We're catching up here. Can you give a quick tip for somebody who's stuck in wanting to be empowered? This goes back to, well,
Well, I answered it. I
I'll tell you
actually,
what, call her. Call her.
there you go.
But
Call me. I'd be happy to
there it
have a
is.
conversation with you.
There it is.
What I did address it. I just didn't address the question. My apologies. What it's really getting to know exactly what
Sorry.
you want
That's what I thought.
and
Yeah.
what your why is. So when you know yourself, you know what's possible, and then you could start building from there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Building that inside out we just were talking
Yeah.
about.
And I don't want to
How do you?
skip over. Ronaldo also asked, do I work with an
Oh,
herbalist? I started touching on that
yeah.
one.
Yeah. We did. Right.
I didn't mean to skip over it. So forgive me.
You
Um,
talked about your injured hip.
Yeah, so there's a
You,
time and place for Western, and there's a time and place for the herbs and the other things. So yes, I do both. Again, I'm going through a cleanse right now, and yeah, that's an herbal thing. So,
yeah, that's powerful too, isn't it? And
oh
those
yeah,
things are amazing, though. Honestly, at the afterwards, those things are amazing and all that. That's your body does have these contaminations or
yeah,
waste or whatever the right word is, and
yeah.
you got to take care of your body, your mind, your spirit, your breath.
It's
All of
all
that's
connected. It's all connected, and it's this. It
right.
goes back to real quick. It goes back to, if I may, it goes back to what you think about, you bring about, what you eat. Right? It's going to come back in some way, shape, or form in
Yep.
a way of well-being or not. Not everything is going to agree with you. I mean, I love crunch, I love the cookie. Is the sugar great for me? Not really, but
Oh, yeah.
you know, we're
Yeah.
expanding
Yeah.
that thought.
Hey, we got a little bit of responsibility to be responsible with all that about ourselves, unless we don't want to have any expectations, whatever,
But that,
whatsoever, I should say.
yeah, that's the key, is really becoming responsible for you, right? 100, you hear people say, oh, you got to be 100% responsible. If anybody's familiar with Think and Grow Rich, they talk
Yes.
about being responsible. Right? That was a great book. If you haven't read it,
Oh, great book.
highly recommend. Right? I masterminded
Dude.
that book for 4 years. It was one of those things that you never like walk away from. It was up there with the Bible, right? So anyway, mastering self is being 100% responsible for yourself. Here's a perfect example of it, if I may. I went to my brother's this past weekend, rather. He had surgery last week. And he's probably
Okay,
one
so
of the
good.
last people that I was close, like there was resentment still there, right? I've worked on
Oh,
shifting
okay.
all of that. So I said, no, Karen, I'm going to come from love. I'm going to come from love, and I'm going to be there in love to support him in his healing and his surgery, right? So here I am looking at his space. My first thought as a human being is coming from my orb. I'm going to call it orbs. So this way, maybe you'll all relate to it, right? I went into his orb and he does him the way he does him. It's not my place to judge him, right? I can't fix or change him. I could only fix or change myself. Not that anybody ever needs fixing. We just need to empower ourselves to expand, right? Expand, the keyword, expand ourselves from where we're at. So I went and I saw him and I let it all go. And I was sleeping on like a thin mattress in the whole 9 yards. I was like, I'm giving it up. It was fine. I had a great time with him. Right. And then I get back and I'm looking at my Facebook feed. Right. Uh, and there are, as of today, 1,700 comments.
On
Love,
that?
oh no, on love comment. Like, here I am stepping into
Oh,
leadership and self-responsibility. I live in Florida. I love gators. So I posted a gator picture on the gator site. And I'm like, it was a 16-foot gator. People called me a liar. People called me because it says digital creator, because the Tranquil Solutions
oh,
Clarity is digital, right? So yes, I'm a
yeah.
digital creator. They told me that I was like whatever on the, changing the photo and everything else. And here I just wanted to show this amazing picture of this gator that
It's
he was huge.
crazy.
He was bigger than my 12-foot kayak. And I lived on the river. So again, perception. My perception was coming from experiences of living on the river and seeing big gators to small gators. That was a 16-foot gator in my orb, right? People went to commenting to what an idiot, and some likes, and they get 1,700 comments.
Wow.
It's stirred
That's
up
a ton.
people's thoughts, feelings, and opinions. Right? We all have
Yeah.
them, but how are we going to be responsible for them? And this is where leaders are made, and distinguishing between leadership and followers. Who are you going to be, and what are you going to build with that?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What are you going to build with that? I'm going to remember that. I like that. We've talked off of that several times. It's a great mental image. What are you going to build with that? It's the core of that kind of thing that we're all driving towards. It's being curious. What are you going to build with that? Right.
Yes,
It's not
absolutely.
being judgmental,
Exactly. The curiosity of a child, right? And to take some
Exactly.
point here, how do you stay grounded when life feels chaotic? Begin with the breath. We don't do that often enough, right? You're
No,
giving
no.
your brain a moment to at least catch up with your body, right?
Wow.
You put it in the clarity
And
tool.
you can feel it. You can feel it. Literally feel it when it happens. Your whole body, when you take a drink of water, if you're thirsty, yeah, you feel it. But when you take that breath, I mean, you can feel it. Do it, guys out there, right? Most people already know this probably, but you can literally feel your body calming into that energy.
Absolutely.
Your religious beliefs. She's dying to ask what your religious background is growing up. Like I'm a Southern Baptist growing up, and
Right. Well, I don't want you to die.
talk
Please
about
don't die because of any of this. I grew up in Massachusetts in a Christian community with a Jewish background. And my
wait,
parents,
the community or you?
I
You're
my
Jewish, right?
family was
Yeah.
Jewish, but grew up, I learned about Jesus before I learned about anything else. My parents were not very religious. My grandparents were. So after the divorce, I started learning, traditions and stuff
Oh
like that.
yeah.
But when I got divorced, I got very confused about who I was and what I was about. So I studied world religions, as I said, and I took the
Yeah.
best from all worlds and I became spiritual because I have a science background and I have a spiritual background. And what can I build with this? Right. So I take spiritual law, right? I don't want to be told what to do by anybody, and I don't want to be a follower of anything in particular. It's just me, right? My preference. I'm not knocking anybody's religions. I think it's fabulous that there are religion out there. I think they teach us a lot of traditions and keeps cultures together and alive. But again, I look at certain religions and it's like, you got to do it this way, and you're wrong, bad and wrong. You're bad and wrong. You're bad and wrong. No, you're not bad and wrong, right? You are here with free will, and it's your choice to choose how it's going to work for you.
Yeah, even a layer deeper. Yeah, we talk about this quite a bit, and actually, Rolanda and I have had some conversations in this because I'm spiritual. I talk to God every day, at least
Me too.
once. I'm not a great prayer, but I like talking to God. This is how it goes down, and you're right. It's what's developing you because you're asking those questions. But one step further to support what you're saying there, I hope you got a couple more minutes. You don't have the hard stop, do you? All right,
No.
good. I have studied religion as well. I have a great interest in it. My book, there's a whole chapter about religion. It's called Blinded by the Light. The reason I say that there's an asterisk there because how can Jewish people, Islamic people, or the Quran and the Bible and different from one Christianity to the next, and then Catholic, they all share the same God, and yet if you don't do it that way, it's wrong, or if you don't do it that way, it's wrong. That's kind of what you were talking about, isn't it?
So I'm going to take it even deeper.
Good. Good.
So,
this is a fascinating subject. It's an important subject to
I'll
us.
come back. We'll talk about that in and of itself. I could talk for
forever. Absolutely. I've had rabbis on here. I've had Islamic scholars on here, and it's interesting because some of it's very divisive and defensive. So dig deeper. Here's the shovel. Here.
Yeah. Okay. So if and when you ever study world religions, it's like I always ask myself, what's the common thread? Right? There's always a common thread. The thread is compassion. It's within you. The God lives within you, right? In the likeness and whatnot of you, right? Some are going to disagree with me, right? That's okay. You're allowed, right? But in my world, in the spiritual realm, the God lives within me. So when I'm speaking to self and my intuition, I'm speaking to that inner knowing, that God within me that's sharing with me, go left, go right, right? I'll have whole conversations where I'm like, but wait a minute, and you hear that inner voice, that classy wisdom, which is into, who you are, what you are, and guiding you. So it's really, that's part of self-love. Like when I love myself, I love the God within me, right? God made us in the likeness of her.
Yeah. All right, fine. Her. We'll go with her. She sassy and classy, right? And badassy.
Badassy.
So Allie here, she's got a question for you here. I think we got Ronaldo. That was a great way to ask that question. I'm dying to ask. That was very, very well done. I picked up on that. How can leaders use? What's that?
I'm very candid. So ask away.
How can leaders use the approach to empower their teams? This approach.
Beautiful question, because actually
It is.
for a while there in my empowerment coaching, I was doing team bonding, team building, and empowering teams, empowering leaders to empower. So it's teaching them, right? And it always gets down to self,
Teaching the leaders.
teaching the leaders, and it always gets back to self. Like, who are you
It
being
does.
to lead a
Oh my
team,
God.
number one, and number two, what's your communication look like? Right? If you don't know,
Wow.
most people don't know communication skills, right? We're not taught communication skills, and I'm not dissing anybody for doing what they do. We don't know what we don't know until we know it. So I went into I live in Florida, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Department. I was hired by their team leader, and he was like, Kara, this whole thing is falling apart, and oh my God, and there's two teams. One is the forensic team that you don't even want to ask them questions because they're out there in the field. They're all stressed the heck out. And we have
Yeah.
the IT team that has to work with them. And we can't get them to, how will we do that? So what I did was I spoke to every single one of the teammate players. What's your
Oh.
perception of who, he's saying this, like, what's your perception? I want to hear it from your mouth, right? And how can we work together? And not only so what I did with the boss, actually, I said, what do you want? What's your overall want? And what would you like from me? And he gave me like a page long. I said, okay, here's your homework assignment. Bring it down to a paragraph. Brought it down to a paragraph. I said, okay, here's your tonight's homework assignment. Bring it down to one sentence. I hired you. I'm like, this is your homework. Bring it down to one word. And his one word was harmony. And that's what I played off of. So I do a team building, team bonding skill where facilitation, where I say, okay, partner with your neighbor and find one thing about your neighbor that no one on your team knows. Oh, we've been working together, and everybody's gets into defensive mode. I don't want to play. And
Right. Yeah.
he sat there the whole time like, no, I don't want to play. And I was like, okay, but you can't unlearn what you hear. So knowing that, I'm like, okay, no problem. So he sat the whole time for 2 days like that in the corner. And so one of the things that came up was so many of the team members played instruments. Harmony. So I use that as a metaphor to bring them all together. They didn't know that about each other because they were so stressed out. Music, which is a love language, right? Creates
Yes.
a space of harmony. And now they were all on the same page. And by the time the second day was there, Mr. came up to me and he says, I've never experienced anything like this before. He says, this was really good because everybody was basically telling us what to do, how to do it, but they weren't giving us skill sets to deal with the stress. These people were divorced and they were out there seeing prostitution and kids dead on the street. And I mean, it was a
Wow.
lot. Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how do you relate with that?
I know. Yeah. That's a lesson there. I mean, that's the ability to guide the inside out. That's a skill that's going on. Got a couple. Sorry, I'm just
No,
pull it back a little bit. What you're just saying, exact where you are right now, what you're just saying. Is there any like little daily habits we're talking about? The big thing, the accomplishment, the being there, the movement. As people start to contact you, when you put your contact information down there and all that, getting little daily habits is a big thing, even if it's just a little habit, because it starts that mindset, right? Good question, Michelle.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that I do is I get up in the morning and I say my affirmation, right? So when my body was healing, my body's healing every day and every way on a cellular level. But you have to say what it is for you, where your mind is going to believe it. If you wake up and say, I am rich, your mind's going to go, yeah, right. Okay, prove it.
Right? Yeah, let me see. Show me the money. Like Jerry Maguire. Do you remember that movie?
I
Show
do.
me the money. I was just talking to producer Barbie about that. Great show. Anyway, go ahead. Has
Yes.
nothing to do with what we're talking about, but
Yeah.
I love the money.
So one of the things that I do also is, let me see if I can get this for you. Is I don't know if you'll see this on my phone. I have an iPhone, right? I put on my wallpaper. So the first thing I do after I'm up and brush my do all of that is my wallpaper. Wonder Woman is my person. Oh, fun.
Wonder
Right?
Woman is your person? Say that
Yeah.
again. What do you mean by
Wonder
that? Is that a
Woman, right?
wallpaper?
Is my
Okay.
wallpaper, but not only is it my wallpaper, but there's a picture of me under Wonder Woman. So when I open my phone, it reminds me to step into my power. All right. So these are little tips, right? Little tips. And then what I do also is while I'm sitting with my coffee each morning is I write in a journal. And I fought it tooth and nail, but I have to tell you, journaling is a very powerful tool. I don't write like a lot of people will do daily journals like this is my day and da, 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 or yesterday I had lunch with da, 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 I went to the bathroom 20 times, whatever, right? Journaling for me is more who I'm going to be that day, right? Who I'm declaring myself to be that day, what I'm creating that day. So I do a creation thing, so I energetically who I'm going to be. And then I write down my 3 things, my 3 badassy action aligned steps, right? And I write them down the night before. So then when I'm doing journaling the next day, I might have had something that realigned during the night because I had put it into my mind and now something else came up.
So important.
So,
important.
right. So I write that. I write down, at the end of the day, I come back and I journal again. And I mean, this is like part of my agreement with my clients is that they will go out and purchase a diary for themselves, a journal for themselves. Because when you purchase it, if you go to the dollar store and get just like a normal notebook, chances are it's going to fall aside. But if you invest money in yourself and you invest in your favorite color pen, you're more likely to journal and continue it than not. So in the evening when I journal, it's like, what did I learn? What was my lesson from the day? What am I going to expand? And what are the 3 things and of course it's a little more in depth than that, but those are things for daily that really have supported me moving forward in the becoming of who I am today.
Awesome. Before we get to Jack here, I just want to go back to Ichel because I think Ichel, it's a great show. This came on while you were answering her question. Can we get more episodes like this? And I think we both agree. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. All right. So Jack, let's pop on to Jack here. And what are the signs someone is ready for transformation? Great question.
Great
You
question.
guys are smart. You guys are really smart. Thank you for being here. I couldn't have done this with her. Not me. Come on. Great question. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You're ready for transformation when you start getting curious. When you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, things not moving, and you start getting overwhelmed or stressed out, right? Stress is the number 1 killer. So before it gets to that point, you start looking for something different, right? And when you don't know what you don't know, you put in the clarity tool, right? That's what that's for. So, you gain clarity. How do you gain clarity? You ask the questions. You start asking questions. And it's like a muscle. You've got to build that muscle. I mean, I wasn't asking the right questions at the beginning. I was asking victimized questions. It was just spinning my wheels. And then I started realizing, if I ask a better question, I'm going to get a better answer.
Yeah, that base gives you different ways to go, right? I mean, we talk about that. We've talked about that, and you're so right on. I wanted to go back. When you becoming curious about what else is out there, what can I build with this? That's the point you're saying, and that's when no, that's not Jason. You hit the wrong one. That's when Jack calls you up, right?
Oh, exactly. I'm here. I'm here. I make myself available. But as I said, I created, in all fairness, I create, not that I don't want to be there, but I'm only one person. Right. And I love all the
Yeah.
responses and I love all and it makes me want to do more, but I'm one person. And there's only 24 hours in the day. And there's only so much time in
I
the day
feel you.
that I do what I love doing. So part of the reason I created the clarity tool was so that people like you, it's affordable. People like you can put me in your back pocket 24/7. And if you get an over and above question that you need answered, that's not necessarily aligned with what you want, you reach out on social media. Karen, I purchased the product and then, I'm stuck with this one.
What's it? What is that a monthly? Is that a monthly thing? A classroom monthly?
Yeah.
Do you mind me
It's
asking how much is it?
it's $27 a month for the first 100 people, and it's officially launching June 1st. It's out there now at $27
My
a month.
birthday's June 3rd. Can I get it on June 3rd?
You can get it
I don't want
anytime. For you, I'll make this
to.
anytime.
All
But
right,
I love
let's do
doing
a backstage deal. We'll do a backstage deal here. Sorry, go ahead.
No, like I said, I declared in the beginning was the word. So I declared in 2007 I was going to make something, create something. I had no idea what I was talking about. I had no idea what it looked like, right? But I took it globally, trial and error it. When I finally made it digital, I went into, because I'm in the creativity community, I was invited down to Akker down in South Africa, where I made a difference in the educational system.
Wow.
And that was by invite only, by this gentleman who was running Mind Camp up in Toronto area. And he said to me, Karen, this is our last year, this past summer. And he says, I really want you there. He goes, you were one of the first people. I really want you there. And he wrote his book in my session. He wouldn't give up his chair until his book was finished. He wrote on my website, Tim Herson wrote this amazing testimony for me. And I was like, okay, what can I build with that? Right. So he says, I really want you back with your program because it's so amazing, And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm still like, and it was a 3-hour program when he wrote his book, right? Because I was still tweaking and trial and erroring it. So I'm walking down the hall to start presenting and facilitating my program. And he whispers in my ear, Karen, I forgot to tell you, it's only an hour. That was the best thing he could have done for me.
That's cool.
It got me out of my head into my heart, thinking, okay, what can I do with this that I can make a difference? There was a gentleman who was in my very first session when I presented it in a physical form, probably 13 years prior. I think it was about 13, 14 years prior.
This program?
The same program. And he was like the first person out of 38 people in the room. And he was like, and I was like, okay, that's information. Everything is data. Everything is data. So I took that and I was like, okay, I don't want the people at the beginning getting bored while I'm like dealing with the people at the end, even though we're interconnected, we're all one, right? You're going to learn from somebody else's if you're open to it, right? So I was like, okay. So he was in the session and he wrote me this beautiful testimony as well. He said, Karen, I've been struggling in overwhelm on what I'm dealing with right now for the last 15 months and I can't figure it out. You've had me with the answer in 15 minutes.
Wow.
And I was like, that's what the clarity tool. That's what it's about. This is what I'm doing. And I just got out of my own way. I had my COO of my company said to me, Karen, I'm a tech person. I'm like, I'm not, right? Hire your weaknesses. So I said, okay, what can we build with this? And together we put all the frameworks. So Sassy, Classy, Badassy framework is behind there. As I said, the archetypes are in there, Jungian psychology, all of the goodies that I have spent fortune educating myself in over these last years are in the framework of this to make it easier for you to get you out of your way.
That is cool. I'm sorry. When you said that, I had to jump back because she had mentioned that earlier and while we were popping around with different things. This has been amazing. I mean, we had, we're winding down. So people are starting to wind down. It looks like we had a couple hundred people on here. You'd start off low. I mean, I screwed it up out of the gate, I guess, but whatever the fix was, it unblocked people. Finally, they were able to come on. And that's what this is all about, is passing that information forward. There's a pay it forward. That's a
Yeah.
trendy, but same idea. It's you got to do it forward, and because like we opened up, this society and this time in society needs leaders. So you've got a whole nother following going on here, and they're loving you. I'm going to throw you in the green room, and you already got it on there. Okay, is that okay? I didn't see.
But I don't know. So my website is www.tranquil, right? TRANQUILSOUL, soul, UTIONS.com. I have
You are a creative.
Very much so. Right? And actually, just real quick, my girlfriend, when I created Tranquil Solutions, just my company, she was working in advertising in New York, and she says, Karen, you're never going to make it. You're never going to make it with a name like that. And I looked at her and I'm like, that's like stripping me naked and telling me I'm not Karen. Like, excuse me?
What?
3 years later, she came back to me. She goes, that's exactly who you are. And that's what I bring to that's what I bring to the place.
Yeah. And you've got to be honest with yourself. Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't mean to. Okay, yeah. If you go to my website, I have a free gift for you. I have a free gift for you, which is a PDF ebook on really supporting you getting out of your own way. And the link to the Tranquil Solutions Clarity Tool is on my website as well. I'm on all social media and Karen Rudolf with an F, and I'll be happy to meet you all there. And, if you want to hear more, keep on coming back.
It's a party, man. It's a party. Well, give us a big wave. This has been awesome. We're going to be hooking up with you again. I'd love to have a round 2 or chapter 2 or whatever we want to call episode 2. Big wave. You're awesome. You're awesome.
Thank you. Thank you all. And thank you all for participating and making it fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you. Talk to you soon. All right. I was scared coming out of the gate. Her and I have had a couple of things that we missed on doing. Long story. One of the things you guys originally got mad at me about, because there was a thing, and you guys aren't, as you could tell, you guys are involved, and the mission and the support is dynamic. It's so important, and it's important for you, but it's important for us and everybody else that comes here. We're like a neighborhood, a community, like what she was talking about in that support. Here's some detailed, dialed in information. And then when you ever need to come back and ask some offsets or additional to that, you have a community supporting you. That's like your neighborhood, right? We need to all come together. We need to all be part of this movement. We need to all be bettering those things and who we are. And, this is Insights. Oh, by the way, Karen, I like your spelling of your company. If you notice on the first part of the I, capital N, Sites and Straight Talk with I'm Rod Duff, and right alongside producer Barbie. I didn't see her on here today. Usually I see her. She'll be calling me shortly. But, all I got to say is I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here, and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.